he hadn't in years. Safe, seen, human. But the morning after, photos surfaced, lies spread, and suddenly the world said the man who helped her was chasing her fortune. He's a gold digger, an opportunist. Look at him. What else could he want from her? But she knew better. She'd been surrounded by diamonds all her life. He opened his door to help and walked straight into a storm he never saw coming. It was the kind of storm you felt in your bones. Rain slammed the windows like fists. Wind screamed through alleyways. The power flickered once, then died. Devin lit a candle. His apartment was small, warm, and quiet, just how he liked it. Until the knock. 3 sharp, desperate raps at the door. He opened it, and there she stood, hair soaked to her skin, designer heels dangling from one hand, lipstick smeared eyes wide, voice trembling. I didn't know where else to go. He didn't ask her name, didn't question why a woman in diamonds was stranded on his street at midnight. He saw what mattered. She was cold, she was scared, she was human. So he stepped aside. Come in, you're safe here. Inside the apartment, she stood awkwardly by the heater, towel wrapped around her shoulders, wearing one of his flannel shirts and nothing else. Devin poured tea. He didn't stare, didn't flirt, just listened. I was on my way home from a charity gala, she said. Took the wrong turn. Hydroplaned into a ditch. No signal, no help. And no umbrella, he added, smiling gently. No trust left either. He looked at her then. You have it now. Flashback Devin's life. A nurse by day. A poet by night. A man who believed in kindness, even when it didn't pay. He'd been burned before, by women who smiled too wide and stayed too short. But this wasn't flirtation. This was someone crashing through life and his front door just needing warmth. Later that night, they didn't touch, didn't whisper secrets. They fell asleep on opposite sides of the couch, her wrapped in his throw blanket, him on the floor with a pillow under his arm. Outside, the storm howled. Inside, peace settled. The next morning, sunlight cut through gray clouds. She woke before him, wrote a note, left quietly. But someone had already seen her Bentley outside, already snapped photos. By noon, Twitter was on fire. Who's the guy? Gold digger alert. Another broke man trying to seduce a rich woman. Devin saw it all on his lunch break. And in that moment, the man who had done nothing but offer shelter was now the internet's newest villain. They called him a gold digger, but never asked what he gave up to help her. Devin's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. At first it was a joke. Group texts, memes. Yo, my boy scored a billionaire. Then it turned. Screenshots, headlines, comments that sliced. Look at that flannel. Obvious setup. Another broke dude trying to climb. Bet he went through her purse too. He sat in the break room of the clinic stunned. He hadn't even asked her last name. And now the world thought he took something, when all he gave was a blanket and a safe place to sleep. Flashback Devin, age 14. His mother once told him, people will always think a black man wants something even when he's giving. He didn't understand it then. Now he felt it in his teeth. Meanwhile, across the city, she was back in her glass tower, white walls, staff that barely looked her in the eye. Her name, Sabrina Elridge. Yes, that Elridge. Real estate heiress, CEO, face of half a dozen luxury brands. She stared at the phone in her hand. Her PR team had already sent a statement. No comment. We're not addressing this minor situation. But it didn't feel minor. It felt cruel, because for the first time in years, someone had seen her in her ugliest moment and hadn't tried to spin it. He had simply helped, and now he was being torn apart for it. Sabrina's flashback last night. She remembered the way he didn't flinch when she cried, how he set a cup of tea beside her without speaking, how he offered her the bed and took the floor without asking. No man in her life had ever offered so much for nothing. Back to present. Devin walked home that night, hoodie up, eyes low. Paparazzi had shown up outside his apartment. Neighbors stared. A stranger on the train whispered, "Must be nice to sleep your way into a penthouse." He said nothing, because what could he say? That kindness had no receipt, that he didn't ask for any of this. Truth didn't trend, scandal did. End of the night, cell phone vibrates. Unknown number, no voicemail. Then a text. "You shouldn't be paying the price for something I asked for. Sabrina." He stared at the screen, then typed, "Then say that out loud." Her silence was louder than the lies until she realized he was drowning alone. Sabrina sat in her office, high above the city, framed by floor-to-ceiling windows and a silence she used to call power. But today, it felt like cowardice. Her assistant paused in the doorway. "Do you want to approve the official statement?" "No," she said sharply. "Ma'am, this won't go away." She stared at the screen, at the comments, at Devin's name trending for all the wrong reasons. "I know, that's the problem." Flashback, Sabbath school, age 9. Her mother once warned her, "Never put yourself in a position where people can misinterpret your kindness. They'll never forgive a rich woman who acts poor." And that was it, wasn't it? She'd spent her life being careful, perfect, untouchable, until she knocked on a stranger's door. Until he made her feel something no man with a credit line ever had. Meanwhile, Devin's world shrinks. The clinic called him into HR. "We're just reviewing public conduct, nothing formal." But he saw it in their faces. "You didn't just help her, did you?" He left early. Walked 5 miles home, no Uber, no attention. He passed a bus stop where 2 teens whispered and pointed. "That's him, the guy from the billionaire's sleepover." He kept walking, faster. Bet he got her number and her bank pin. He clenched his fists, not because they were wrong, but because she hadn't told them they were wrong. Nightfall. His apartment was dark, quiet, still smelled faintly like her perfume. And then, another knock. He opened it slowly. There she was, hair tied back, no makeup, wearing a hoodie and jeans. She looked nothing like the headlines, but exactly like the woman who knocked on his door that night. "I came to say it out loud," she whispered. "Say what?" "That I was the one who needed help. That you never asked for anything. And that I let them tear you apart because I was too afraid of breaking my image." He said nothing. Just let her speak. Because sometimes apologies have to echo first, before they land. "Devin," she added, voice breaking, "I'm not here to fix what they think of you. I'm here to fix what you think of me." She spoke the truth, but he needed to know if she meant it. Devin stepped aside. Again. Let her in. Again. But this time, the silence between them was different. Not born of fear, but of reckoning. She stood in the middle of the small living room. Same throw blanket, same tea mug from 3 nights ago. "They were waiting to tear you apart," she said. "And I gave them permission by saying nothing." Devin finally looked at her. "Do you know what it's like to be painted a thief for offering kindness?" "Yes," she whispered, "because I've been called heartless for turning people away." He studied her, and for the first time, he didn't just see the billionaire. He saw a woman who had spent her whole life protecting herself from both love and judgment. Flashback, Devin's college years. He worked 2 jobs, slept 4 hours a night, took care of his grandma between classes. He didn't have time for relationships, but he always made time for people in pain. Because kindness to him wasn't a currency, it was a calling. Back to the room. Sabrina sat on the edge of the couch. "I don't want to fix my reputation anymore," she said. "I want to defend the man who gave me safety when I didn't deserve it." Devin exhaled. "You didn't owe me anything that night, but the next day, you owed me this. And I'm here now." A pause. Too late. Not if you mean it. The next day, her statement goes public. Sabrina called a press conference. No PR filters, no legal drafts. She stepped up to the microphone and said, "I wasn't rescued by a stranger. I was seen by a man the world was too quick to erase. Devin didn't take anything from me. He gave me something priceless, human dignity, when I had forgotten my own." Reaction. The internet paused. Some apologized, most moved on. But Devin, he received a single text that night. From Sabrina Dinner. "Just us. No headlines. No noise. Just real." He stared at the message for a long time. Then typed, "Only if you let me cook." Because sometimes the first real meal is served not from pity, but from the ashes of a moment when truth finally got its voice back. She came for a meal, but stayed to learn how to be held without being judged. Devin cooked. Nothing fancy, just roasted vegetables, rice, and pan-seared salmon. But the kitchen smelled like forgiveness. Sabrina arrived 10 minutes late, not because she was stalling, because she changed outfits 3 times trying to find something that said, "I'm not here to impress. I'm here to mean it." When she walked in, he didn't look surprised. Just calm, like he'd been waiting with a quiet kind of hope. Dinner table. Small talk turns into something deeper. "You didn't have to cook," she said, taking a seat. "I didn't have to let you in that night either," he replied. She smiled, eyes soft. "You keep saying things that make me want to stay." "That's because I'm not trying to impress you either." They ate in silence for a while, not awkward, honest. Then she spoke. "You said I owed you this. That day, that voice. You were right. But I also owe you something else." "What's that?" "The chance to know me when I'm not running for myself." Flashback Sabrina, 5 years ago. Every man who touched her wanted a version of her. The image, the inheritance, the name. None of them wanted the girl who snuck out of charity galas to eat fries in her car. None of them stayed when the smile cracked. Until now. Back to present. Devin cleared the plates. "So tell me something real," he said, returning with tea. "Like what?" "Something nobody would believe about you." She paused. "I was never supposed to take over the company. I wanted to be a chef. But my father said girls cook at home, not for power." He blinked, then smiled. "Guess we're both breaking rules tonight." The living room later. They sat on the couch. Same place she slept the first night. Same blanket. Different air. "I'm not scared of the storm anymore," she said quietly. "You never were," he replied. "You were just waiting for someone to sit beside you through it." She turned toward him, eyes open, guard down, voice steady. "I don't know what this is, Devin, but I want to find out. Without hiding, without headlines, without shame. Then stay." "You mean tonight?" "I mean in this. Whatever it becomes." And for the first time, neither of them flinched. Because this wasn't charity. It wasn't scandal. It wasn't a rescue. It was the start of something real. They escaped the headlines, but real life had questions love couldn't ignore. Weeks passed. The scandal cooled. Public attention moved on from Devin, from Sabrina, from that stormy night. But inside their quiet moments, new questions began to rise. Saturday morning, Devin's apartment. She was in the kitchen barefoot, sipping weak coffee. He watched her half smiling. "It's not Paris. Not crystal glasses or catered brunches," he said. "It's real," she replied. "I've had everything except this." But even as she said it, her phone kept buzzing with meeting reminders, board updates, and image consultants. He never asked about them. She never offered. And slowly the space between them filled with things unsaid. Flashback Devin's college days. He remembered dating someone who once told him, "You're not enough. You're safe, but you're not shiny." He swore he'd never be measured like that again. But now, he sat on the edge of the bed, wondering if she'd still choose this. Once the world remembered who she was. Meanwhile, Sabrina at her office. She stared at a blank email draft. To Board of Directors subject. Resignation proposal. Her assistant knocked. The press is requesting a sit-down. About the man from the storm. She closed the laptop. No comment. Sabrina, are you ashamed of him? She looked out the window. No, I'm scared they'll use him to shame me. That night, dinner at a quiet restaurant. Neither spoke much. They both felt it in the shift. The slow return of masks. Until he broke the silence. What happens when they ask you to pick? She didn't pretend not to understand. Then I'll tell them I already did. And I chose the man who opened his door without knowing who I was. He stared at her, waiting. But you have to choose me too, Devon. Not just as a guest in your life, but as someone who might turn it upside down. Later, her car idling outside his apartment. She didn't leave. Didn't kiss him goodbye. She sat behind the wheel and whispered just loud enough for the air to hear. Please don't make me walk through this alone. He opened the door, got in beside her, didn't say a word, but his hand found hers and squeezed. Because love isn't always loud. Sometimes it just stays. She loved him in private, but he needed to know if she'd choose him in public. Devon didn't ask for much, but lately silence felt heavier than comfort. Sabrina would smile at him across the dinner table, but flinch when the phone rang. She'd hold his hand in the kitchen, but drop it if a staff member walked in. He noticed. He always noticed. Tell me I'm wrong, he said one night. About what? About being the secret in your fairy tale. She froze. Flashback Sabrina, age 25. A man once told her, "You're too successful to date down." She'd laughed then, but now those words haunted her. Was that how the world would see Devon? Not as a man, but as the exception she dared to bring home. Present day in her penthouse, he stood by the window, looking out at the city, at the life she came from, the one she kept inviting him into, but never fully let him belong. I'm not asking for fame, he said quietly. I'm asking for acknowledgement, for truth. She sat down, tired, exposed. You were the first thing in years that wasn't part of my brand, and I'm terrified they'll ruin it. He turned. Then let them. But don't let you be the reason I start to question my worth. Later that night, the note, when he left her apartment, he didn't slam the door. He just left a note on the kitchen counter. I opened my door to you without knowing who you were. Now I need to know if you'd open yours knowing exactly who I am. The next morning, Sabrina's press interview. The host smiled too wide. And what about the man in the photo? Sabrina. Just a one-night headline. She paused. The cameras waited. The board would be furious. The PR team would panic. But she thought of his note, and the storm, and the tea, and the quiet. So she leaned forward, eyes steady. No, he's not a headline. He's the reason I remembered who I was when everything else broke. The interviewer blinked. The room fell silent. And far across town, Devon watched the live stream, hand stilling on his coffee cup heart, too loud to ignore. Because sometimes the loudest kind of love is finally saying someone's name when it costs you everything. The world tried to shame their beginning, but they wrote their own ending. Devon didn't expect a parade, didn't expect the public to apologize, didn't expect Sabrina to say his name on live TV either, but she did. And with that sentence, he's not a headline, she ripped the shame off both of them. Flashback the first night. She had knocked, scared, soaked, lost. He had opened the door, not knowing who she was, not asking, just being kind. Present a week later, she showed up again. Same knock, same nervous breath before he opened the door. But this time, no storm, no hiding, no panic. Just a woman who had finally chosen honesty. You said you wanted to know if I'd open my door to you, she said softly. Well, here I am, asking if you'll open yours again. He looked at her. No cameras, no stylists, no spin. Just Sabrina, the woman who had once slept on his couch like the world was crumbling, now standing at his threshold, asking for something real. "I don't need your world," he said. "I just need to know I'm part of it." She stepped forward. "You're not part of it. You're the only part that ever felt real." Flash forward 1 year later. The scandal faded. The stories moved on. But they didn't. They built a home, one with no penthouse view, no gold chandeliers, but there were candles on the windowsill, a blanket on the couch, and 2 toothbrushes by the sink. No press releases, no brand strategy. Just 2 people who met by chance and stayed by choice. Epilogue Charity Gala. A year to the day since the storm, Sabrina took the stage. No gown, no script, just a mic. And Devin in the front row, arms crossed, grinning like he knew the real story. "We often think love finds us in luxury," she said, "but mine knocked in the rain and taught me how to open more than just a door." The crowd applauded, but he didn't need applause. He already had everything. Because sometimes the truest kind of wealth is the kind that lets you be loved exactly as you are. If this story moved you, subscribe to Real Father Story, where real love doesn't need permission, just a place to begin.